So after this brief excursion into the nature of bioelectricity, let us now return to nanoplastics. We have established that they disrupt the electrical code of your organism at all levels. We have discussed failures at the level of ion channels and at the level of electron transport within mitochondria. Now let us speak about an even deeper injury to the electrical matrix. What specific damage inflicted by nanoplastics on cells and their components leads to the breakdown of the most subtle and vitally important process, the formation and transmission of spin-polarized current? As you already understand, such a current arises in molecules that possess a chiral structure, and nanoplastics deliberately deform this structure. I will explain how this occurs using proteins as an example. This mechanism is also described in detail in many scientific studies. In biology, a protein functions only when it is correctly folded. Its shape is the foundation of its function. For many proteins, this functional form is the alpha helix, a stable structure held together by a system of hydrogen bonds. What happens when a nanoplastic particle appears nearby? The nanoplastic alters protein's secondary structure. The surface of a plastic nanoparticle is electrostatically charged and chemically active. When a protein comes into contact with this surface, hydrogen bonding and electrostatic interactions immediately arise between them. And here we reach a critical moment. Nanoplastics begin to intercept the hydrogen bonds that previously held the protein in its correct form. With a protein, this presents a choice between two options, either to maintain its complex energy-intensive alpha structure or to adhere to the surface of the nanoplastic, where the overall energy of the system becomes lower. From the standpoint of physics, a protein always follows the path of energy minimization. At this point, nanoplastics effectively become a false template for the protein. The protein uses the surface of the nanoplastic as a scaffold, conforming itself to it. In other words, it reassembles and changes its shape, not because it has broken, but because the nanoplastic forces it to do so. In science, this is known as the template effect. That is, nanoplastics present the protein with an alien mold, and the protein begins to fold not in the way required for life, but in the way that is energetically advantageous in contact with the nanoplastic. As a result, the protein alters its secondary structure, and its alpha helix disintegrates. Adopting to the false template imposed by the nanoplastic, the protein is forced to reorganize into a structure known as a beta sheet. Why is this dangerous for bioelectrical processes in your body? Because a protein's function depends directly on its shape. The alpha helix has a chiral form and therefore is capable of supporting spin-dependent electron transport. When nanoplastics forcibly drive a protein from an alpha helix into a beta sheet, spin transport drops sharply, and together with it, the precision of biological processes declines. Nanoplastics also act as a catalyst. It is sufficient for them to come into contact with a single protein and alter its structure into an incorrect one, and this triggers a chain reaction of aggregation involving surrounding proteins. Distorted proteins that have altered their structure under the influence of nanoplastics lose their original program and original function and begin to aggregate with one another. This is how so-called amyloid fibrils are formed. These are precisely what are found in the brains of patients with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. And it is the nanoplastics that initiate this process at the level of electrical impulses. Under normal conditions, the organism has a built-in mechanism for destroying damaged proteins, a kind of internal cleanup system, so that they do not continue to participate in cellular reactions. But here too, nanoplastics deliver another blow. They block the cleanup system itself. The cellular cleanup system consists of lysosomes, figuratively speaking, cellular waste processing plants. Their role is to destroy damaged proteins. However, nanoplastics disable lysosomes. The lysosome is literally overwhelmed by this material and ceases to perform its functions. And all of the processes I have just described occur in every cell of the body into which nanoplastics enter, including the cells of your brain. As a result, your brain shifts into a kind of energy-saving mode, mental fog, memory loss, and the fading of cognitive functions. This is not aging and not a disease. It is the result of your biological wiring, so to speak, being clogged with electrostatic noise, nanoplastics that have rewritten the shape of your proteins.